Troops, good night, good evening, and hello. I'm joined tonight on the podcast by the man behind VOUK, veteran-owned UK. Scott, how you doing, brother? How's things?
All good, thanks, John. Thanks for having me on, man.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure. Let's just go straight into it. VOUK is a great idea, and potentially in the future will be massive. Where's the idea come from, and where would you like to see it go?
I'd love to say it was my own idea and I came up with it in the middle of the night or whatever. But the truth is, it's an American thing. So July 2017, I was looking on the internet as you do, and came across an American website called veteranownedbusinesses.com.
Okay.
And on there at the time, there was about 28,000 veteran-owned businesses.
Wow.
So you could search through, you name it, there was somebody or lots of people on there doing whatever the thing was.
Yeah.
So I thought, what a great idea. If I need to buy a product or pay for somebody to do some kind of service, I'd like to keep that money in my peer group, in veterans. So I had a look on google.co.uk then to try and find a British version, and there was nothing out there. So typical squaddy mentality. Went on the domain registration website, bought the domain, set up a Facebook page, a Twitter account, an Instagram account, and that was it. July 21st, 2017, the start of Veteran-Owned UK.
Wow. Obviously, the very short period of time I've been involved, I can quickly see how well it's taken to, and in that sort of squaddy military mentality, everyone is sort of pulling in the right direction. Where would you like to sort of see it go to? What's the grand plan?
Well, I mean, the end goal, if you like, or the 5-year plan, as typical business fashion. I want to see it the same size as Checkatrade.
Wow, yeah.
That's what I'm modelling myself on. And if anybody ever thinks about they need a tradesman, Checkatrade is the go-to thing. They sponsor a huge amount of sports and all TV adverts and everything. And people instantly recognize that name. And that's the goal for Veteran-Owned UK. I want it to be a household name. When somebody thinks, I need a product, or I need to get a plumber, an electrician, a coach, whatever it might be, who am I going to use? I don't know somebody personally who's doing that. I want the first website that they look on to be Veteran-Owned UK. And it isn't for people to feel sorry for us, as veterans. And a lot of people think, they've had a hard time and whatever it might be. And that's related to the press. So the majority of press that we see that concerns veterans is on the negative context. So it's to do with physical injury or mental health or homelessness or substance misuse or whatever it might be. But there's so much positivity out there from veterans and, doing good things, whether it be in employment. There's huge campaigns going on for employing veterans because people realize what good work they do and the work ethic that they've got, whether it be in community, in sports, whatever it might be. So there's lots of positive media out there, but it just gets shunned and shied away from. So I want Veteran-Owned UK to be like a positive light. And when people think about getting somebody in to do a job, they should be going to Veteran-Owned UK and using it.
So obviously you thought of this idea from seeing it from America. You came back and implemented it. Are you running it alongside a normal job, or has this now become your job, or do you want it to become your job in the future?
No, I've still got a day job. And in reality, I probably put about 60, 70 hours a week in on top of my day job running Veteran-Owned UK.
Wow.
So it takes a lot of time through the website side of things, through the contact that people are sending in. So the benefit of how Veteran-Owned UK is run at the minute is it's social hours. So because everything we do is on social media, it tends to be outside of the normal working day anyway. So people get back from being in work, whether that's running their own business as a veteran who owns a business, or if they've got a side job like a lot of us do, whatever it might be, They get back from that at the end of the day, then they go on social media. So there's a good overlap, if you like, between the two jobs, because one is in the middle of the day, and then the other one is kind of 5 p.m. till 11 p.m., 12 p.m., whatever it might be.
Something that you touched on there is this whole thing of entitlement and people that feel sorry for people. And I, as a veteran-owned business myself, I certainly don't want anyone to feel like, oh, I'm entitled because I was in the army or anything like that. And all the people who I know who I've met through your organisation, all seem to have the same opinion. And I think it's what you're putting out there, your positivity in your social media, is when people see it who are veteran businesses, I think it's instantly drawn to you. And, you know, I have met lots of people who are now veteran owned, and where it's going in the future, I think, and I don't even think it's going to take you 5 years. I think within the next sort of year and a half, 2 years, like, veteran owned will be massive. And I just wonder how long before the MOD, or if they haven't already, and I just don't know, will sort of approach her and say, I think there's a tie-in here with the resettlement process. What's your sort of take on that?
So I think to break it into two halves, I guess, then. So the entitlement portion of it, I think there is an aspect of that out there with people thinking, I've served my country, however long it might be, and it generally tends to be the people who served the shorter time think that they're entitled to something because of what they've done. But I think the majority of veteran-owned businesses have realised that isn't a thing. You know, and nobody, in reality, in Civvy Street, once you've got out of the military, when you get into Civvy Street, nobody gives a shit what you've done. Nobody cares how fast you can run a BFT in, or, you know, what you can score in an APFT. It just isn't a thing for anybody, you know, and you could be a private or a lieutenant colonel, whatever, or anything in between, and it doesn't mean anything to anybody in Civvy Street. So if somebody thinks they're entitled to something, they're going to learn the hard way that just isn't true, you know, and people generally don't care what you've done in the military. Lots of people are grateful that you were in the military, and that can be a positive thing for people, but it doesn't get you, in this country certainly, it doesn't get you through a door. You know, it doesn't get you into an interview. Some companies are starting to do that now, but it's a completely different culture to what's in the US, for example, to the UK.
Yeah, I've certainly found I have to cool it down a little. Well, before I started my own thing, I certainly was a little bit too sort of like in your face, like a little bit too. I seem to spend all of my army career like, when people used to call me corporal from outside the artillery, I'd spend all my time saying, "Yeah, corporal's a punishment, fella," and and
Bob.
Yeah, and now when I'm out and people say, "What do you do?" I'll say, "Oh, I was a bombardier," and they went, "Oh, what's that like?" And I'll be like, "It's like a corporal," and it's almost like it's. But, yeah, I've certainly had to tone that back because obviously I still have a day job. Yeah, it's a funny one. And what you sort of, in that two-part question, would you like to see sort of magazines like Pathfinder and Civvy Street? If you haven't already, have you had any sort of tie-ins with them? Because just look at the experience in that hub of veteran-owned. There's so much anyone
huge amount of experience. You know, we've got everything from guys, particularly in the group. So in the closed group for veterans, serving members of the armed forces, or spouses of either or, who either want to start a business or have a business or are self-employed. We've got the closed group, haven't we? So within that group, there's experience from somebody who has an idea in their head and they think, I want to start a business. I've got no clue what to do. Should I be a limited company? Should I be a charity? Should I be a sole trader? So there's guys and girls from the very bottom, day one, week one, if you like, right the way up to people who are running. I can probably think of 3 members of the group whose businesses are turning over double-digit millions per year.
Wow.
So, you know, there's people in there who started big tech companies, sold them on, moved on, started another one, sold them on and moved on. So there's everything, the same as in Civvy Street. There's every single level of experience in there. Now, going back to your question about with kind of partnering with people, I guess, and like of Pathfinder magazines and the different online magazines that are out there, the Veteran, for example, and the Sandbag Times and things. We've been in them, and we try and put stories out there and things about us. But one of the things that we try and do regularly is pass details of other people doing good things onto those guys and get those stories put out there.
Yeah.
So there's kind of a two-sided coin for us in terms of awareness. So there's awareness of us, so the public becomes aware that we're out there and is able to come and use us. But also then, if somebody's doing something, I'll try and use my connections to try and get them some limelight somewhere, because that's kind of our driving mission, if you like, is to get more exposure for veteran-owned businesses to the public, so they can sell more, do more, whatever it is. Because we've all got the same mission. Everybody in veteran-owned UK, we've all got the same mission in terms of we want to see how businesses succeed. Now, we could be in different businesses, but that's the end goal, isn't it? Success.
Well, I mean, since I'm sort of, I always say if I get a post out before Scott Johnnson on a morning, I'm doing well, because you are Mr. Like you are Mr. 5 past 5, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? You are.
Yeah, I don't sleep a great deal. If I get 6 hours a night, I'm doing all right. So
6 hours is good, man. You can take over the world on 6 hours. That's
exactly. Exactly.
But sort of where it's made me, because you're in a room, I'd like to call it like a warehouse full of absolute, what I call killers. It makes you think, God, it makes you look at other people and say, you know what, their website is really good and mine needs improving. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you can handle the green-eyed monster and just shelve that to one side and say, do you know what, his social media is excellent, and this is the standard I need to take mine to, and learn from it. And that's what Veteran Owned for me does. It makes me look at other people and say, God, that's really good. Why am I not doing things like that? And you've created just like a room of absolute energy. And, I'm now working a lot with Nadia, and like, I'll sing Nadia's praises from the rooftop.
I will as well. It's who we use as our accountant. So she's, you can't fault her one bit.
No, she makes you 100% accountable. She sets me targets every single week. She's not really, yes, she's my accountant, but she's more than an accountant. Do you know what I mean? Like, she knows a lot about business. Now, how would I have met someone like Nadia if it wasn't for your organization? So straight away, it's put me in touch with so many great people. And I always, when I come across veteran-owned businesses that aren't aware of it, I'm like, RV1 after this meeting, mate, you need to go and check this out.
Yeah.
And it's great. What sort of, you as the sort of kingpin, what do you expect from your VOUK members to be out there sort of being the foot soldiers and pushing the message?
I mean, I think I don't see myself as the kingpin. I genuinely don't, and I don't even see myself as the leader of the community. I'm a member of it. It's more than me, that's the beauty of Veteran-Owned UK in terms of its membership. Every person who's in the group, for example, or outside, some people aren't in the group because they're not on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah.
But people are out there singing the praises of Veteran-Owned UK, spreading the word, telling people about what's going on, but also adding value to other people within the group. And you see that on a daily basis, There's just short of 900 people in the group at the minute, and it's pulling about 5,000 interactions a month. It's a really active group for a small membership of people. And people are in there posting videos with help topics. People are in there asking questions. People are in there just sometimes ranting about something, because it's a closed group. You can do that without the outside world seeing what's going on. And we're all from a similar background, so what goes on in there. as long as you're not giving trade secrets away for something. But if what goes on in there stays in there, and people got your back.
You're right there. A lot of things that I see, and I wonder, you put a lot out on social media. You are like super active, and it's something that sometimes it's a bit of a frustration for me, is because people will say to me, "Oh, I seen your post. I thought it was excellent," and it's like, "Well, why didn't you like it or comment on it?" Like, as a business, I need that. How algorithms works is it
popularity
needs traction.
Yeah, absolutely.
And don't just keep it in your mind and think, "Oh, that was a brilliant post." Oh, hang on, me Sunday dinner's on. Like, and I've seen you sort of say before, not in a ranty way, but like, "Gents, come on, like, I need you. I need, if I'm giving it 110%, I need you to give it 75 or 80." Like,
and there's two sides of it for Veteran-Owned UK. So there's the main page, which is the public page that every man and his dog can see, and then there's the group. So in terms of, if you like something, press the like button. It doesn't cost you anything. It takes half a second. It's meaningless to you, but what it does for that person's business is exactly what you just said. It gains them traction. It starts putting them in front of new audiences. So every now and again, every month or so, maybe 6 weeks, I'll put one of those images about how you can help a small business for free. Hit the like button, hit the share button, tell your friends about it. It doesn't cost you anything, but it starts spreading the word. And, we're all small businesses. We're not corporations that are turning over, 4.8 billion a year or whatever. We need people to be sharing our content and spreading the word, and that's how people grow. But then within the group side of things, Veteran-Owned UK gets nothing from anybody pressing a like button within the group, because it's a closed group. But what it does for the person who's posting it encourages them to do some more posting. It tells them what I've said there, people have valued. Now, people can come on and comment and say, "Actually, I disagree with you." And that's fine as well, because you're getting conversation going, as long as people keep you respectful. And to be fair to the group, once in probably 18 months the group has been live, I've had to step in and end the conversation. Once in 18 months, and we're talking, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of posts a month. And it's just such a good professional group of people. People can disagree, have a debate, and air both sides of it, and that's just the beauty of it, And if you found it helpful, press the like button. If you disagree with it, comment and say, "Well, actually, mate, I don't agree with what you're saying. These are the reasons why."
There's nothing wrong with robust debate. There's nothing wrong with it, because good can come from it. And something that I do a lot is, after I do an event or I do something, I always have like an accountability meeting. Now, sometimes that's with myself, or I might be with other people that I've ran the event with. But you'll never learn. You can't grow. Nothing's ever perfect. Nothing's ever 10 out of 10. Everything's 10. And I personally, I've never seen anything descend into chaos. And it is down to the sort of professionalism of the group. And I've spoke to Mark Thompson the other day. I speak to Mad Dogs all the time. Rob Dennison I speak to a lot. It's Nadia, yourself, we have all sort of surrounded ourselves. We sort of circled the wagons, and I'm, the likes and the comments and the shares. It's always there. You put a great thing on the other day about Gary V, and we'll sort of come on to these influencers now. I listen to a lot of Gary V, and I think to be successful in business and as in life, you need to listen to some people who are really getting sort of after it. Who is it that you listen to? I know that you're a big fan of Gary V, but is there anybody else who you sort of think, who regularly is on your podcast, who you listen to or you download, who sort of really set you going?
I listen to a lot of different content, really. So from either podcast or audiobooks, I've got quite into now. So podcast wise, or any type of content really from Gary V, I think his honesty and his drive for social media. You know, and I just think he's ahead of the curve in terms of where we're going in business. And I like his honesty with it, you know. So Gary's good. There's a good podcast out there called Masters of Scale by Reid Hoffman.
Right.
So Reid Hoffman is Reid Hoffman is a venture capitalist and was involved in the startup of LinkedIn, Airbnb, PayPal, all those, Facebook. He was on the board of, you know. So he's very well connected with tech firms, and he gets all these guys on who've started those companies as guests on the podcast. You know, you can't pay for that content. You've got people who started up $30-40 billion a year companies, and they're coming on a podcast and telling you, well, look, these are the things that work for me. These are the things that didn't work. If you can't take something away from that, even if you're, you know, a plumber from Accrington, if you can't take something away from those guys, you're not listening hard enough.
The way I view podcasts, like with Gary V, like say you're downloading hours worth of Gary V, how much would you have to pay for an hour of Gary V's time? Like
none of us can afford it.
Exactly. Like the way, and I take a lot from him where he says about jab, jab, hook. Do you know what I mean? Give, sell sort of techniques. And when I hear like sort of some people in business, and you know, it's the old sandbag story. It's the excuses. Oh, well, what it is this, that, and t'other. And I'm like, you know, you're not on the same page. Like, no one's just going to turn up at my door and say, "Well done, John. You know, you've done a few late nights. There you go. There you go, fella. There's a pot of gold and all the best." You've got to really be hungry. And if you are entrepreneurial, you start with an outdoor business and you say, "Do you know what? I'm a bit of a gobshite. I love a bit of a chat. Why don't I start a podcast and just be necky and say, do you want to come on the podcast? Do you want to come on the podcast?" And go that way with it. And I say to people all the time, like, play to your strengths and find out what your USP is and just go hard at that. Don't write an average blog because you heard that, oh, you should be blogging. Like, people sometimes say, "Oh, do you do blogs?" I'm like, I'm Johnny age 5 at the best. Do you know what I mean? Like, the written word isn't my strong point. So guess what? I don't really do it that much. Yeah. And if I do it, guess what? I've outsourced it because I've hired a VA, and I just send it to her and say, "Yeah, good luck deciphering that. Here's the backcode book. Let me know when it's done." That's a good point, actually. I listened to a good thing the other day, a webinar about outsourcing. What's your take on outsourcing your weaknesses? Have you ever done it? Have you ever gone, "Do you know what? I'm tonk at that. Give it to someone who's really good."
I'm a huge believer in it. Right?
Yes.
Genuinely. Because I'm not naive enough or stupid enough to think I'm good at everything.
Yeah.
So I'm good at some things. I'm dog toffee at others. And in the early days in business, I got to put 6 different hats on. And I got to be everything from the marketing manager, the managing director, the janitor, and everything in between. But once you get to the point that things start picking up, to keep your business going in terms of momentum going forward, you need to be doing what you do best.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a good clip on LinkedIn going around at the minute from a guy called Julian Hearn. So Julian started Huel, via the drink Huel. So Julian started Huel 4 years ago with about 1,500 quid in his pocket, and had this idea: this is the business I want to do. A meal replacement in terms of not a diet or a high protein. You don't need to chew food, you can drink it. So this is what I'm going to do. Nice and cheap. And, you know, if you're working in the city in London, you ain't paying 14 quid for a rubbish pub meal. You can have a drink that gets you good, clean calories, all your nutrients for whatever it works out at, £1.45 or whatever. Now, Julian's on target this year, so in his 4th year of business, to turn over 45 million. So Julian's video going around on LinkedIn in the minute is about how he stepped down as the CEO of Huel.
Wow.
So as the founder of Huel, within about 2 years of being in business, he had the foresight and the lack of ego, because that's what's the biggest killer of a lot of people in business is their ego.
Yeah.
I've got to be the CEO. I founded this. I want that, those 3 letters on my business card. Who cares? I just want to have a successful business. If I'm running it, great. If not, if somebody else is better than me at that, put him in place. And he stepped away and he put a guy in there, I think his name is James McMasters, put him in and said, you're the CEO. You're better at doing that. And he changed and he went over to a different role, and it's just seen that business triple its turnover year on year. And I think it's a key thing in business, particularly in startups, when you've got to be everything. Once you start getting enough momentum and you want to keep that momentum going, if you're wasting your time trawling through emails and, posting out leaflets or whatever, not that that's a great way to do it. It's got its benefits.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But if you're still doing that stuff and you can afford not to be doing, you're wasting your time, because that's what you need to think of your resources in terms of, not money, it's time. What else could I be doing with these 3 hours that I've just wasted on trawling through a database?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I touched on it there. I'm poor at the written word, but a lot of my stuff is written. So when I sort of pitch events at sort of charities, organizations, Cummins, etc., it can't be in pidgin English because it will not get me through the front door. It's as simple as that. So do I think, I've hired a VA, and guess what? She's ex, I think she's ex-army, she told me. And I just sent file share of the stuff. About 5 hours later, it comes back, better written, better words used, more business-wide. And it's like, right, so her time has cost me an hour, right? Yeah. That might win me the job.
Exactly.
Then it's 25 quid well spent. Like, I don't understand some people when they say, "Oh, that's a bit spicy, isn't it? 25 quid." I'm like, yeah, but if you think spending 25 quid is a lot of money, wait until you get into the big game.
Yeah, you're in the wrong business. If you think spending 25 quid is a lot of money, go be an employee, go work for somebody, because you're not looking at return on investment. So if somebody came to, imagine it this way, if somebody came to you and said, you give me £1,000 and I will give you £10,000 tomorrow, would you do it? You'd snap their hand off at it, wouldn't you? Exactly. But people don't look at it in terms of business with what's my return on investment. Now, as with most things in business, it's a gamble. So, if you've got your data and your figures and you've done your homework on it, the odds are massively weighted in your favor. Now, something could go wrong and you might not win it. Somebody else could be better, whatever it might be. But if you don't put the effort in, and normally some kind of money is skin in the game, as you call it,
Skin in the game, yeah.
Exactly. You've got to have some skin in the game. And if you think £25 is expensive in business, or if your business can't, I'll be honest about it, if your business can't afford £25, you're not going to be in business much longer.
Nah.
Because that's a box of paper these days. You've got to be on it. And if spending that money, does something better for you, so like you were talking about, that person is better at writing things, then that's better than you. That's a benefit. The other option, B, is if outsourcing whatever it might be to somebody else, and they do 3 hours worth of trawling through data in a database, and ticking boxes and putting .coms at the end of email addresses or whatever it might be. But you can be out there selling to somebody for 3 hours. You've brought in 4 new jobs in 3 hours. That's turned you over 500 quid in revenue for the sake of £75 in VA's terms.
In the time that she was spell checking and grammar and doing all that stuff, I was messaging people saying, this is running in a few weeks' time. Where you at? What can I do for you? You don't have to pay in a one-er. We can set up a payment plan, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And again, and it's the same with Nadia. Her fee makes me accountable every month, where I think I can't afford just to sit here and eat Cheetos in my underpants. Like, I need to be out there getting after it, because there's people out there who want to go out and have a robust adventure.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not for them it's not for them to come to me. It's for me to kick their front door in and say, "Oh, fella, get your boots on. We're going now." And
yeah, nobody's going to get up in the morning and they say, "I know what I'm going to do today. I'm going to give John a ring and I'm going to get John to beast me around for 6 hours."
I wonder how BMO's doing. I've never met. No, you're right.
You know, you've got to be out there banging on the door saying, "Hey, I know what you want this weekend. You want to be following me up this hill. If you get in front of me, all the best with it." You know, and people are all over that then. So,
absolutely.
I mean, in terms of outsourcing and things, so Tim Ferriss wrote a good book on based around that, really, called The 4-Hour Work Week. So, you know, exactly the same type of thing. Be good at what, firstly, understand and realize what you are good at and what you're not good at. And it's fine to not be good at things. Once you know what you're good at, and put them on a whiteboard if you want. Things I'm good at, things I'm shit at. And then the things you're shit at, start finding people who are good at it.
Yeah.
And, you know, in this day and age, it's so much easier now to be in business in 2019 than it was in 2009 or, you know, 1999. Virtual assistants, they'll charge you 25, 30 quid an hour and you will reap the benefits from it.
Yeah.
You know, you can have people working remotely on things. You and I, you know, having a conversation over the internet from two ends of the country.
Exactly.
You know, it's so much easier because of technology. And if you can't use that to your advantage, you're going to suffer for it. It's going to be painful. And I'm not saying you won't succeed, because people do, but it's going to hurt. It's going to be painful, and you're going to drag along the way.
What you said there about, and Gary Vee, I seem to talk about Gary Vee in every single podcast. I'm going to have to get him on the podcast. But he said there's always someone. It was always harder in the 70s. It's always harder in the 80s, but people still made big business in them times. He's like, He's like, literally now, have you got a smartphone and an idea? Yes. Welcome to the empire.
Exactly.
Like, it's down to you to sort of put that in there. And every empire from Genghis Khan to the Romans has had things they've had to overcome. And it's no different from like an entrepreneur thinking. And I think the problem is, Scott, is people want to live the lifestyle straight away. They want a big flash car. They want to, you know, swan around on 4 hours a day, and, you know, but that isn't a lifestyle. Do you know, I've set myself a target this year is I've got a functional website, but what I want is I want a 3.5, 4 grand website, which is absolute gangster, which does loads of work behind the scenes for me. Google ad, do you know what I mean? That really draws people in. But at the moment, it isn't, I want to go and have a flash holiday for 4 grand. It's like, I want a 4 grand because I want a super awesome website. Andy Mills, get ready. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's...
I mean, and that's the difference, mate, between what I think is, or what will be, a successful entrepreneur, yourself. You're willing to sacrifice to someone who has a bright idea. And you pinched my word just now when I had it made. You can see me. Everybody wants to be a gangster until it comes to doing gangster things. And they want the lifestyle of owning a big business, but they're just not willing to put the work in for it. And people think, you know, and they see people on the internet. I'll go back to Gary Vee about a post he did this week about social media celebrities compared to real life celebrities, you know, and he was talking about Logan Paul, you know, and how much money Logan Paul and whatever his brother's name was, how much money they make in terms of put them up against Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, and whoever from an A-lister. They're making 10 times more money. They don't star in movies, so they're not getting paid for being in the movies. But for what they're making for the celebrity status, and these guys come off of YouTube and Instagram. You know, they're just phenomenons that come from nowhere. But people think they've done it. I can do better than that. Yeah. They're not willing, and they probably don't see the hours and hours and hours those guys put in behind the scenes. You know, thinking about they're doing videos daily, you know, and it's an hour video. You ain't making that hour video in an hour, for one.
No.
You know, they got all the prep. They're probably thinking 2 weeks ahead of what's going on the show next. So, you know, planning out all the show, who's doing the filming, what do we need, what we got to buy, where's it going to be. it's work. It's hours and hours and hours of work.
I don't, I think it's like being 35. I'm sort of not late to the Instagram social media party.
You're never 35.
Yeah, no, I'm looking
55.
And but I see people who are doing really well on Instagram and that, and where other people hate on them and go, "Oh yeah, that guy." I just think fair play. Do you know what I mean? They're using the tools that's been given to them to cut the way through. Do you know what I mean? And they're getting big followings. And if big followings is your thing, do you know what I mean? Then if that's what drives you. But for me, being authentic and being accountable is two that's, for me, they're the two most important things.
Yeah.
And sort of on LinkedIn, like I think LinkedIn is great, and I'm definitely trying to sort of be a bit more consistent on it, like at least one post a day, and then I'm sort of looking at people, trying to speak to people. LinkedIn for you, is that what out of the 3 platforms? I only say you on 3. I don't know if you're on others, but which platform is the one for you where you think this is where we're really making it happen?
So we're on 4 platforms essentially. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, in the social media, the social, I guess, is the key word in it. But then LinkedIn should be called professional media for me.
Yeah,
so
okay.
It's a social media platform, but it's more on the professional side of the house. So we're on all 4. So the 3 social ones, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Yeah.
The accounts are Veteran-Owned UK.
Yeah.
On LinkedIn, I'm on my personal account, Scott Johnnson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, there is a business account on there, a company page, as they call them. But LinkedIn doesn't tend to work like that because, like you just said, it's all about the interaction. So what you're saying, who you're commenting on, who you're engaging with, and it isn't a magic portion out there with LinkedIn. You can't just go on and say, right, I want to speak to so-and-so and you'll get there. You might be lucky, and I've got some huge connections from business, I've got the chief marketing officer for Microsoft, as a connection and things like that. So there's some huge connections on there. But you've got to put the work in. You've got to speak to people. You've got to engage with people. People, as with most things in business, people buy from people. And if you put the effort in and the time in and engage with people, and when they write something, if going back to what we were saying earlier, if you think it's good, press the like button. Say really like what you said today. Thanks very much for sharing. It's basic, simple. If you wouldn't walk down the street and somebody was talking to you and just ignore them, wouldn't you? You'd say something back. So why don't people do it on social media? I don't know.
It's absolutely crazy. Never, ever. This is like a golden rule, which I think a lot of people adhere to. Well, if you're smart, you adhere to it. Never, ever leave an engagement open. Always reply. If it's at an emoji or it's a comment or it's your generic go-to comment, but never, ever. And it's what you've just said there. If someone said to you, "Hey, mate, how are you doing?" and you just looked at them and walked on, they'd be like, "Who's that guy?"
Exactly.
It's the same thing. Like, don't believe your own hype. Be yourself and be nice. And sort of one thing that I do on LinkedIn, and you're right there about making it personal, is if someone sends me a connection request, I will reply with a voice note. And the amount of people who have come back to me and said, "Wow, I've never had a voice note before. That's brilliant." Now, for that brief moment, they've gone, "Who is this guy? What does he do?"
Yeah.
And bosh. And somewhere down the line, someone's going to go, "Oh, he's an outdoor leader. He has an adventure company. Guess what? We've been after doing the Yorkshire Three Peaks for years. This could be the guy." And all because you took a moment of your time to say, "Hiya, Paul. Thanks very much for the connection message. Look forward to seeing what you're all about. Have a great day." Bosh. 3 seconds of your time, and that might just land you a repeat contract year after year. You never know.
Yeah, and it goes back to what we were saying earlier in terms of how can people help small businesses. How can you help yourself as a small business? That costs you nothing. It takes 3 seconds of your time, and you're 100% right in what you're saying, John. That person normally just gets accept request, whatever it might be. That person has now thought, hang on, let's listen to what this guy's all about, and he's actually taken the time to reply to me. Maybe I should have a little bit more of a look into what he's doing and things, you know. If that's what he's putting effort into in terms of accepting a LinkedIn message, how much effort is he going to put into other things that's important? Imagine if we were paying him. Imagine the customer service he's going to give us then, the effort he's going to put in. And it's little things like that, you know, small gesture, big impact from it. So it's... I think going back to the start of your question in terms of the social media platforms, I think LinkedIn is undervalued by people in terms of the professional side of the house. And you know, if you're an entrepreneur and a business owner, if you aren't using LinkedIn, you're genuinely missing a trick. You know, it's where you can connect. You can connect to Richard Branson on LinkedIn. He runs his own LinkedIn account. The other social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, that's not him. That's a social media manager. He runs his own LinkedIn account because that's him. That's his professional image to the world. So you can get on there and you can comment to things, and he'll reply sometimes to people just purely based on comments if somebody goes on there, you know, and all these type of people. And you can connect to the people you want to connect with. You can search them out as a business. You know, send them a message with some personal detail in it, as in, hi, whatever their name is. I've just seen you've wrote this article, or I'd like to post. I think we might be able to interact somehow in business. I'd like to connect. And, you know, I hope that's okay. Any chance of it, fella?
Drop a fella in that. That was
Decline.
No,
but no, you can reach out, and that power wasn't there 10 years ago. You couldn't send a letter to somebody because you just get filtered up by the secretary and put in the bin. But these days, you can connect the heads of huge organizations, whatever it might be. But then on the social side of social media, so Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you know, they've all got massive uses in terms of business in whatever you might have in your funnel to get traffic where you want it to go. So they've all got different pros and cons. You just got to learn them and use the tools. You said it earlier, tools in the toolbox, you know, and sometimes you need a hammer, sometimes you need a screwdriver, sometimes you need a saw. And you just got to use them differently and use them to your advantage. And it's in 10 years, the world will be doing most of its business on social media.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. And what you're saying there about getting, you know, someone to reply to you, I've had the Gary V account reply to me. Now, maybe that was one of his team, but I listened to enough of his podcasts where he says, I sit there on long flights with my phone and I will go through messages and I will reply. So for all I know is I've had the genuine Gary V saying to me, just keep on smashing it, John, you'll get where you want to be. And it's like...
I would say 99.9% certain that was Gary replying to that. Because it's particularly the way he is.
Yeah.
He'd be a huge hypocrite if he was telling people about how to interact on social media and then farmed out his LinkedIn account to somebody else. But
absolutely.
If it was Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, then I would be 99.9% certain that was probably a social media manager.
Yeah,
but it's not like that on LinkedIn. It's different, you know, and it's there for the taking. And you know, I think both of us can't say enough about Gary V in terms of you know,
I'm outside
what he says.
Yeah, I'm outside of his house right now.
I did read something about the restraining order in the newspaper.
Yeah, local Dalton man arrested for stalking Gary V on all platforms. Yeah, that's me. But no, Scott, we've absolutely fired through this, and we're going to sort of start the countdown to finish with the 5 whats. This is becoming a bit of an iconic thing. So I'll just bang straight into it. The first what? What's the greatest piece of advice you've been given?
I think it probably ties back into what we said earlier about entitlement.
Yeah.
You've got to work for it. If you want something, you've got to work for it. And if you don't put the effort in, you know, the reward is comparable to the effort
Absolutely.
If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. So, if you want something, you've got to work for it, and just put the effort in, and you'll get there in the end.
No, absolutely. Second, what's on your bucket list? This is either business or personal. It's up to you.
Ooh. Business-wise, I want to do a huge event.
Mint.
So that's kind of my
NEC.
Or XL London. So a huge business conference exhibition. So I want it split over a couple of days with meet the buyer, so all the civvy companies can come in and meet veteran-owned businesses and get them in the supply chain. And then I want huge speakers, people like Gary V speaking at the event. That's what I want. That's my that's the top of my bucket list business.
Mint, that is pure fire. That's got to be done. That's class. Yeah, that's awesome. Let's set a date. Let's get some accountability on the shelf. And
about £3 million to run it.
Well, no problem. Third, what's your toughest day?
I think it's a roller coaster, isn't it? Entrepreneurialism. I think every day there's tough points, and I think you've seen me in the group sometimes when I get frustrated that people don't see things the same way as I see things, and I've got this vision for Veteran-Owned UK and how big it can be for everybody. And, in terms of traffic coming through the websites and businesses being found by Joe Public who wouldn't have got that business in normal circumstances. But I can't do it on my own.
No.
And, that's probably the lowest point. And it happens regularly, and I understand why. People are busy and they've got their own businesses and lives and everything going on. And, I'm ingrained in the middle of Veteran-Owned UK, and others are ingrained in the middle of their businesses. And I completely get that. But it's just so frustrating for me when I can see something and where I want it to go in terms of, right, we got an opportunity to get this post out. Can you give it a share? Can you give it a like? Can you comment on it? And I can see where people have read the post. I know. See that within Facebook. It's been read by 538 people, 4 likes, 1 share. Come on. I'm putting stuff out there for you guys every day. Just give me a little bit of help with it, and that's probably the low side of being in this business, and I completely get it, and I genuinely do, and very rarely do I have a little moan about it, but I have in the past and said, come on, I can't do this on my own, and it ties back to what I said earlier. This isn't my community. I'm a member of it, and we've all got to put a little bit of effort into for the collective greater good,
For my bit, on all of my posts, I always put #Veteran-Owned UK, always. And from a selfish point of view as well, Scott, and I don't mind saying this, but when it goes massive, and it will, when that hashtag is massive, I'm going to be sitting at the top because I've been doing it for the last, year and a half?
Yeah.
So the way it all works is, it'll be like, oh, wow, who's hashtagged this the most? Wow, you're already sitting stacked high, do you know what I mean? And you're right, little things make big difference, and a lot of little people doing a lot of little things create a big effect.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Everyone who's VOUK, stop being Jack and start liking and commenting more.
Yeah.
Or Scott will put your windows out.
Remember, I've got everyone's addresses.
Yeah. Class. Fourth, what's your happiest day? If you've got kids, obviously it's your kids, but more from a business point of view.
Business-wise, again, the little milestones, because I'll be a happy, content man when we've run that big exhibition in the XL, and it's Sunday evening and it's gone And Gary V shaking my hand and saying, thanks very much. I want to come back next year, but next year I'm going to do it for free because I want to give back to veterans.
Yeah, but don't invite John Beamson again because he's been
the police had to take him away.
Yeah.
But, those little milestones, and I'm a huge believer in celebrating milestones. And not every day with I want to get 2 extra likes on the page today, because that's just insurmountable and meaningless almost. Not meaningless, but such a small significance. But breaking things down and celebrating milestones, and I'm a big believer in that because it keeps your positivity up and your motivation, and that keeps your momentum driving forward and pushes you on to bigger things. So I think in terms of when we hit 10,000 views a month through the website, that was a pretty good day for me.
I've seen the analytics. It's going well.
It is going well, and there's some big stuff in the pipeline that'll be getting announced pretty soon. So awesome. that was a pretty happy day when that got confirmed, and you'll be hearing about that soon.
Sweet. Can't wait.
So there's more happy days than negative days, and I can't stress that enough, and completely outweighs 99 happy days compared to the one sad day in this business. And that's what keeps me so positive and driving forward with it every day, really.
Yeah,
it genuinely is, and I can't say it enough, it genuinely is an awesome community. And like I said, I'm just pleased to be a part of it, and it's awesome people doing awesome things. I can't say that enough. And whenever I go anywhere and I tell them about Veteran Owned UK, I'm not telling them about my business.
No.
I'm telling them about everybody else's business, because that's the good stuff that people want to hear, and I tell them about how, you replaced that trig stone on Blencathra, and, guys who just doing amazing things. And I can't sing people's praises enough, and I'm a pretty upbeat, positive person anyway, and I can talk the back end of a donkey. So people have got to tell me, great, thanks very much. What about your business? What are you doing? What is Veteran Owned UK doing?
That's fair enough. Final what? What's next? Either for Scott Johnnson, the man, or Veteran Owned UK as a future. What's on the horizon? I know you've just said there's something coming up, but you want to keep that to yourself. But
I can't say about that a minute.
Yeah. Right.
I'm under pain of death for secrecy. But there's some big things coming up, and growth really is what's next for Veteran Owned UK. Yeah. So I've got the 5-year plan is to get up to 19,000 members within the directory. There's an estimated 187,000 businesses active today owned by veterans in the UK, and that'll be from sole traders or non-employing businesses, as they're termed by HMRC. So the guy who's a plumber on his own and doesn't employ anybody else, but he's still classed as a business in the eyes of HMRC, right the way up to these big multinational companies that are employing 3,000, 4,000 people that were founded by veterans. So, there's a huge number of businesses out there. So I rounded it up a little bit because my OCD likes round numbers, and then I come up with a figure of 10% of what's out there. So 19,000 businesses, and that's what we're going to be about for for the foreseeable future, is just growing it and pushing it forward and gaining that exposure that I talked about for the businesses registered within Veteran Owned UK.
No, that's epic, Scott. And here we are. We've come to the end, and personally, I just want to say sort of thank you for coming on the show. I think we've had an absolute whirlwind 50 plus minutes there, and when people listen back to this, just listen to what's being said about business and apply it, and things will start going a bit better. No one's saying it'll just go overnight, but consistency has always been the key to success. Where can people find yourself and Veteran Owned UK? For those who don't know, plug every single link you've got in the world.
Yeah, so the main one obviously is the website, so www.veteran-owned.uk, and that's where the website's at. And then on any social media really, so Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, we're Veteran Owned UK. So get out there, and it's it's me who runs the account. Come and say hello. You're on social media. Say, I listen to the Eagle podcast, and I couldn't understand the word you were saying with your Welsh accent and John's Northern accent. I had to put it through Google Translate. But drop us a comment, say hello, and I'll chat back.
Yeah, I had to use the old backcourt key setting book, and I got it squared away. Scott, thanks very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, mate.
Let's keep on the positivity, and thanks very much, mate. Adios.
Cheers, John.
Cheers.